Hey, YouTube friends. Hey, Tony Hill back here with you. Making sense of credit. You know what it is. Hey, look. Uh, Today's video, I'm going to be talking about authorized user trade lines and kind of what it is and a little bit of research that I did. But this study came out, brilliant study. Shout out to Miss Shackelford for putting this together. And I'll go over here in a minute. But look, you want to stay to the end of this video because you're going to learn some really incredible stuff that I found out that I thought I knew about trade lines. Look, I've been doing this for 35 years, so I think you're going to get a lot out of it. But studies don't lie, right? So look, before I jump into the video, make sure you smash the like button. Helps the algorithm of the channel. Hit the notification bell for upcoming content. Make a comment if you like. Share this with your friends and family. Don't keep it to yourself. And most of all, please subscribe to my channel. Hey, thanks for being here with me today. Hey, look, sometimes I think people think that everybody knows about authorized user trade lines, and that's the case. You know what they say about assuming, right? So, look, just a kind of an introduction. An authorized user trade line is a line of credit which an individual has granted permission to use. However, an individual is not legally responsible to maintain the line of credit, which means that if you're an authorized user, someone asks you to their credit card or whatever the case may be, you're not legally responsible for that. So, but uh, look, if they give you the card, you can use it, whether it's a family, friend, or whatever the case may be. But I think a lot of times, people who are going to lend you, let you be an authorized user, they might take the credit card and cut it up. Also, for today's video, this is more centered around if you're purchasing a trade line. And then also I'll get into maybe a little bit in this video, or if not the next video, I'm going to try to do a 2-3 part series on trade lines to cover everything. But for today's, this is mostly about if you don't have a family member, friend, that you could go on and mostly purchase a trade line for the purposes of today. So look, now you know what a trade line is. In 1974, Equal Credit Opportunity (ECOA) imposed two significant requirements. First, all creditors are required to report authorized user information to the credit bureau, and second, all creditors must consider the history of the account held by a spouse when determining creditworthiness. Okay, so how do trade lines for credit work? So basically, what happens is authorized user. Typically, when they went with it was supposed to be a spouse, but that's not necessarily the case. All authorized user trade lines must be considered when determining creditworthiness. The inclusion of authorized user trade lines in the analysis of the creditworthiness enables the authorized user to feel both the benefit or the burden of the trade line, depending on the trade line's standing to which they are added. Let me just drop this. I want to drop this to you. So basically what they talk about is this. Look, if you get an authorized user and let's say you got someone added you, and if that person that has that trade line, they use it a lot, they're higher percentages, and you're trying to get a loan or a credit card, whatever the case may be, that trade line could affect your score, okay, because of the high utilization. So, I would only do an authorized user, friend, family, pretty much all the trade lines you're going to purchase, they won't have balances for sure. But, you might do a friend or family or whatever the case may be, and they run a balance or even a high utilization on that could hurt you. So be careful with that. I would make sure that if you ask them to add you to a trade line and you want to be an authorized user, have them add you to a trade line that really doesn't have a balance, and they don't keep a large balance on that particular trade line, credit card. So I figured I'd just drop that over to you. Look, also too, to go along with that, when they say the benefit or burden, also too, look, if they if they have a 30-day late, 60-day late, whatever, that's also on your credit because remember, you're an authorized user. But also, you do have the right to uh, take take the trade line off your credit at any time. I just figured I'd drop that while I was flying over. So, but moving on. Look, uh, this study, uh, there was 860 participants, uh, and it was done after adding one or multiple trade lines. And I'll get into that in a minute because there's quite a lot here to unpack. So I want you guys to really kind of get this because this is huge, and I'm glad they took the time to do it. Look, this is not one of my shorter videos, but I really want you guys to get something out of this today. Um, but the scoring model that they use was they use FICO scores, okay? And I'm not going to get into all of it. I'll put a link down below so you can maybe check this out yourself. Uh, so anyway, moving on. So lenders use credit scores to produce scores to make decisions regarding creditworthiness, as most of you guys know. Uh, and a credit score is based on the 5 primaries, which I'm guessing if you're watching this, you are tuned into, or you can check this out. But look, the 5 factors include payment history, credit utilization, credit age, diversity of credit types, and new inquiries, new credit inquiries. You guys know what a good credit score is. I'm not going to get into that. Uh, this is interesting. A study by the Federal Reserve found that 1/3 of the population, which I had no clue, had at least one authorized user trade line on their report. Authorized users, often called seasoned trade lines, allow for authorized users to piggyback their credit off an individual who already established a line of credit. Another thing too, I'm gonna draw out while I'm flying over here, is that one thing that's really cool about, like, even when you purchase a trade line, after the trade line is no longer there, the cool thing about it, and I think a lot of people don't get this or know this, is that you still have that trade line's history. So that'll always be on your credit. So make sure you understand that. Now, if it's if you get to one, maybe you have a 30, 60-day late and you have that trade line, you could still actually dispute that with any of the credit bureaus and get it off. Figured I'd just throw that out there because that's something that most people don't understand. So the one cool thing about this is that you say, okay, how impactful are trade lines? This little benefit here I thought was really a really good way to put it. But 20-point increase for someone with a credit score of 685 would be quite beneficial. This increase would result in transition from fair to good credit score. However, a 20-point boost to an individual who has starting credit score of either 750 or a 460 would be less beneficial, which means that typically, and look, you could go and take a look at the FICO score chart. It tells you about fair, good, very good, and excellent. Take a look at that. But yeah, 20 points once again could get you to a what we call a tier 1 rate, the best rate that they got. You might go from a 4 or 5% to a 2.5%. So really be mindful that even 20 points could be a big deal. And also too, I think you'll be shocked at some of the information that's in here. So actually, the company that did this study was Superior Trade Lines. And shout out to Mike and the guys over there. I've been knowing Mike for years. I've been sending them clients for years. They do an excellent job as far as helping people with trade lines. They give you, they're an expert at this and at trade lines. And so I would say check those guys out. I'll leave I am an affiliate. I'll leave my affiliate link below so you guys can actually, if you want to check those guys out, and they'll be able to help you. But moving on, the the thing that I loved about this study was it took so many different variables, uh, you know, that they that they use. The biggest things and you say, well, they could have been all over the place, but they did this so well. And basically, the people could have no late payments, balances below 20%, regular usage, and they were well-known banks. Pretty much the mainstays. And the trade lines were age of 1 to 21 years old, and the limits were from 3,800 up to 50,000. So the data that was collected from each individual, the credit score for each bureau before the trade line, credit score for each bureau after the addition of the trade lines, the limit of the trade lines, the age of the trade lines, and the age of the participant. Um, so, like I said, and once again, I'm not going to read word for word, but the thing about it is that what I wanted to stress to you is that this was a study that was well done, and they had 9 different analyses. And I'm just going to break down. This video is just going to break down a couple, and then I'm going to attempt to, like I said, do this in a couple different videos because I know most people attention span is not much more than 8 to 10 minutes. So bear with me here. So look, analysis 1, data was collected from 860 participants using the method stated. The average score for each bureau was determined. Both and after the trade lines were added. By comparing the average scores before and after the addition of the trade line, it was found that trade lines had a positive impact on scores, which a lot of us know that, right? The average change in experience score was 108 points. Equifax experienced average increase of 70 points. TransUnion experienced an average increase of 83 points. Finally, before and after credit scores each bureau were average, it was found that the average increase for each participant was 88 points. So that's a big deal. It's a big deal. So I'm going to, let me show you this. You've probably been looking at this trying to figure out what the heck it is. But basically, this is, some improvements. I'll show you the difference before the trade line and then after the trade line. And one thing I should say too, that I want to say, I saw this in one of these findings, but that's why I got this up. Look, the thing about it is that and I'll get into that in one of the analysis that explains a little more, but one of the things they talk about, when you have a credit score already and you have credit, it's going to be less effective on your score as if you had no credit or very little credit. And really, the authorized user really was typically for that, people who had no credit or very little credit. Because you'll see, and I'll show you in the findings, some huge increases with that. So, and once again, I'll verify my sources, but I want to say in here, they say on the average, if you have credit already, your score is going to be your score increase is going to be about 33 points on an average. Most people who have credit. And you say, well, wow, that's not a lot. That's not a lot. I'm paying a lot of money for a trade line. But once again, going back to what I was saying earlier, that can make a difference between poor credit and fair credit and good credit to very good credit to excellent credit, which all brings you some serious savings when you're buying an automobile or you're getting a credit card or buying a home or getting a mortgage. So keep that in mind. It may not sound like a big deal, but it's a big deal. But once again, you look at these, some of these differences. 585. I mean, look at the huge difference here. 585 to 655. And I'm guessing, and I'm just throwing this out there, and they didn't have this in the state. I'm guessing this is typically someone who may have not had a lot of credit. Okay, but that's a huge difference, right? Quite a few points. Same here. 547, 655. I mean, and those are some big numbers, right? And once again, what they do say And just like Superior will tell you that they can't promise you what the increase is going to be because there's quite a few factors in there that make up your credit score. Late payments on time, making payments on time, utilization, the age of the account, credit mix, all of those things, they vary. So you would have to certainly understand that, they can't tell you, what your increase is going to be. One thing I would tell you, referring trade line companies like Superior for a long time and working with them for a long time, is that, it's a good idea to have your credit on point by the time you buy you purchase a trade line. Um, don't go in with collections. Don't go in with, high utilization, and don't go in with, frankly, bad credit. And late payments. Get that in place, and then, once again, the folks over there, they'll tell you what they think your chances will be of increasing your credit, and I'll leave that up to them. So yeah, so while I got you guys here, I'm going to do the other analysis. This was the second analysis that they did, and basically, it was an average credit score. It was average credit score for people, with little to no credit. Okay, and so thin or non-existent credit files typically cannot generate a credit score, so they are assigned zero value. Since the lowest FICO score, and once again, that's what these were done on, possible is 300. Any addition to the credit would cause the scores to rise hundreds of points. 51, 51 participants had no credit score in this study before adding trade lines, which account for 6.4% of the study of participants. Since this situation occurs frequently, we separated participants who had no starting credit from those with credit scores. The data was analyzed once the participants were split into these categories. The addition of an authorized user to the credit report for these clients resulted in the average increase in the credit scores. The average increase in credit scores for Experience was 720 points, Equifax 752, and for TransUnion it was 754. Okay, uh, beneficial trade line for credit. These results suggest that it can be highly beneficial for individuals with no credit to be added as an authorized user. Individuals had no starting credit score were intentionally separated from those who did have a credit score. This was because authorized user trade lines tend to impact those who have a small credit file significantly. Given that there is little information on the report for credit score formula to include, adding the trade line in good standing can dramatically improve multiple factors that influence the credit score. While there are fewer of these clients, there's a higher average score, which uh, inflated the results of analysis. One, these findings are also in accordance with the study uh, done by the Federal Reserve. So let me just scroll down here and show you this, guys. Check this out. Average credit score by bureau before and after. No, I'm sorry. Here we go. Analysis 2. So this was done this was done after, before and after. Zero, once again, no credit. Trade line, 752, 720, 754. Okay. Um, yeah, so basically all of these are before and after. And if you check this one here, this is just a couple different graphs. But look at this over everything. And look, I tell you, if you have no credit, and if you're trying to help someone who has no credit, maybe like a daughter, a son, or a young person who has no credit, you try to get them off to a good start. There's no better way than this. And I'll tell you this, excuse me, because I just did it for one of my kids. Let me see if I got it here. I don't have it, but anyway, so I did this for one of my kids, and basically this happened to them. And I could tell you the trade line that I used was not a huge trade line, as you're going to see in some of the information in here that you don't need a people think you need 25, 30,000 for every trade line. Not the case. The trade line that I put my uh, one of my children on was a trade line under 5,000, I could tell you, but the scores were very similar to this. And after a month of having those scores, he applied and got his own credit card, $3,000 credit card through Discover, which is a better card. And here's another thing too I want to drop to you. If you go this route for a young person, a family member, and look, old, younger, older, whatever the case may be, someone with no credit or little credit, it can be a huge benefit for them. So if you were to give them this and they got these type of scores, then they wouldn't need some of the lower tier cards, Credit One, uh, Capital One Platinum, a bunch of these other cards that you see out here, or secured cards. Like my son, who I put on the authorized user, one trade line, and it was under $5,000. Actually, I could tell you it was under $3,000, and basically, his average scores were one of his scores was 762. I want to say 750 and a 740. But he was able to get that credit card on his own because of the one trade line that he piggybacked off me, and he was an authorized user of. So, look, this works, especially for no credit, for basically which is the most beneficial that you'll see that's done out of the study. And once again, I want to thank Superior Credit for doing this study. It's unbelievable. I got a few more analysis for you. I want to say there's at least 7 more that I'm going to be bringing back to you. But I'm going to cut this video short. But until the next video, Tony, making sense of credit. Thanks for staying with me to the end. Hopefully this was very impactful to you. And like I always say, don't keep the information to yourself. Share it with a friend or family. Until the next video, be safe, and we'll see you.